Let's go ahead and get into the Russia situation. Well, here's the arrogant mobster criminal, Joe Biden. Russia is alone, naked in front of the entire world. No, you are, you criminal leech. Here's another one. Biden in Europe to reassure our allies over Russia's moves in Ukraine. Washington Post. Folks, Russia took less than 10% of the country that historically has been part of Russia. I know you know that. I know you know that. But notice the hoax calling, the media calling Obama weak and the neocons calling Obama weak. The globalists, with neocon help and NATO help, just took 90+% of the country and put their regime that will now join the EU for looting. They voted to not join the EU. Now they're going to have a Marshall Plan, emergency aid, signing them onto the debt. The EU just took 90+% of the country. Russia came in to grab their bases and gas pipelines, and they're calling it a victory for Putin so he can then strut around in his gold palace, when in truth, this is a major defeat for Russia. That's spin for you. And then Israel and the neocons give right-wing support and cover to Obama, who's on the exact same team. That's the rest of the story. Good day. We're going to skip this network break. This is too important. I've got to cover this story now. Ron Paul. I'm going to read this whole article out of USA Today because it says it all. Very measured, very reasonable. What I've been saying for weeks. In USA Today. Ron Paul, Crimea secedes. So what? Residents of Crimea voted over the weekend on whether they would remain an autonomous region of the Ukraine or join the Russian Federation. In doing so, they joined a number of countries and regions, including recently Scotland, Catalonia, and Venice. They are seeking to secede from what they view as an unresponsive or repressive governments by 96.77%. The latter three are proceeding without much notice, while overwhelmingly Crimea vote to secede from Ukraine has incensed the U.S. and European Union officials, who are run by globalist banks, I should add, and has led NATO closer to conflict with Russia in any time since the height of the Cold War. What's the big deal? Ron Paul goes on to say, opponents of the Crimea vote like to point to the legality of the referendum, but self-determination is a centerpiece of international law. Article 1 of the United Nations Charter points out clearly that the purpose of the UN is to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples. Why does the U.S. care which flag will be hoisted on a small piece of land thousands of miles away? It's 8,000 miles away, technically. Critics point to the Russian occupation of Crimea as evidence that no fair vote could have taken place. Where were these people when an election held in Iraq, occupied by U.S. troops, was called a triumph of democracy? Perhaps the U.S. officials who supported the unconstitutional overthrow of Ukraine's government should refocus their energies on learning our own constitution, which does not allow the government to overthrow governments overseas or spend $1 billion to bail out Ukraine and its international creditors. Though the Obama administration applied some minimal sanctions on selected Russian and Crimean individuals, neither the U.S. nor the EU can afford significant sanctions against Russia. Global trade provides too much economic benefit to both sides. Indeed, Paul continued to write, international markets rallied on news that the sanctions would be thus far minimal. They understand that trade and economic engagement are the surest roads to peace and prosperity. Let's hope governments will follow their lead. From the Ron Paul Institute, stories also at Infowars.com. We carry all the Ron Paul Institute information, or most of it. Now, how do you spin that? We cannot believe how weak Obama is. He only backed taking over 90+% of the country and seizing it and firebombing the police stations and shooting people and overthrowing an elected government. And, I mean, how dare Obama be weak on Syria over the last 3 years, blowing up hundreds and hundreds of churches every month, murdering Christians and others en masse, funding al-Qaeda 200,000 strong to attack the country, and now we want an Air Force bombardment and total invasion of a country that did nothing. I mean, how weak of Obama. Give him 9 more peace prizes. I mean, how weak of him signing the Obamacare Act, written by Ezekiel Emanuel and the Republican Party and Democratic Party with the offshore mega banks. How dare him do that? How dare him, double and triple the prices for the foreign banks? How dare him build more abortion clinics in the black neighborhoods the New World Order wants to kill? How dare him try to disarm the American people when the big banks are the ones financing that? How dare him invade 6 different African countries in the last 7 years, or 6 years, or whatever it is? How dare him use al-Qaeda to bring down Libya? How dare him just absolutely sign on to $1 billion in aid that'll be used for the military? How dare him back NATO, arming Ukrainian troops, massing in Ukraine right now, in Ukraine, refusing to leave, saying, quote, they will battle the Russians for it. How dare him? He is weak, ladies and gentlemen. He's just totally bringing down the U.S., raping everybody of their finances, turning us over to the New World Order, and then they've got all these people running around, jumping up and down, saying he's weak. And then it's like some kind of, we're scoring when Krauthammer, who's good on a lot of subjects, comes out and says, yeah, Obama looks real weak. Dick Cheney says, he's real weak. Man, Putin's really showing us right now. I mean, we just grabbed 90+% of a country full of oil and pipelines and grain, and we're going to suck it dry right now. I mean, I tell you, Hitler got half of Poland. We would have got 90%. That's how you game people. That's how you take over right there. And the public buys it. Yeah, Putin's really tough. He's really showing us right now. There's a lot of traitors like Alex Jones and Ron Paul that don't think we should have war with Russia. Yeah, those commies, Ron Paul and Alex, yeah, they want to cut taxes down to nothing, get rid of the income tax, give the states most of the power and empower the family and get rid of the Department of Education and arm everybody. They love John Wayne and cars that go 200 miles an hour. These are some really communist people. Folks, you didn't know that I've been accused in literally hundreds of publications of being a KGB agent? Of course, back when I said that our government was funding al-Qaeda, they had the media claim that I'm a al-Qaeda sleeper cell person. Oh, yes. That's why. There is something the establishment does get, though, and I've been told this, in some high-level meetings. They've actually done their homework. They do this on anybody. Just until about 50 years ago, and this is probably discriminatory and a bad thing, but back when America really was run by Americans, you couldn't get a high-level position unless your family had been here back in 1776. That's kind of inclusive, a little bit elitist, isn't it? But if I could go be part of the societies with the elites that were from the Mayflower. I could go be part of the sons of the Republic of Texas. My mom could be daughters of the Republic of Texas. Grandma is. I'm not saying I'm some hoity-toity guy. But the whole point is I'm an American, and you get that through your stinking heads. And don't you ever, you scumbag traitors who are sold out to the foreign banks that are gutting this country, don't you ever tell me I work for some foreign government. And you know who you are. I dare one of these neocons to get in my face and say that I'll punch you in the nose. You understand that? You ever say that I'm not loyal to this country? Go ahead, punch me in the face. I will stomp your ass into the ground. And I don't mean to talk like this, but I am an American, 110%. And you tell me I'm not a loyal American, I will stomp you into the ground. Do you understand that? I want this country to survive. I love this country. I believe in this country. We were exceptional. And I'm sick of people signing us on to the New World Order, to world government, destroying our industry, destroying our country, poisoning our people chemically and culturally. And then you have got the nerve to sit up here and tell me that I'm not an American. You're not an American. You're a piece of trash sold out to the New World Order. The neocons, the Democratic Party, all of you are enemies. Enemies, and you want to usurp me, and you want to usurp my family, and you want to usurp everyone and trot them underfoot. Well, I'm not going to sit here, and I'm not going to put up with it. And that's what it comes down to. I am the rightful heir. You are the rightful heir. We are the rightful heirs of this republic. And I don't care if you just got off a boat here. If you like the Bill of Rights and Constitution, you like freedom, you don't want handouts, you don't want to be a slave, you want guns, you want to raise your own children, you don't want to abort 53 million, 54 million babies, then you are my brother. I don't care what color you are or where you're from. You want freedom? then you're on the same side as I am. But if you want to be part of gangs and inside scams and all this crud, you're an enemy. But I do see the Russians surrounded, and I do see them being bullied and pushed around, and I see a sovereign country, just like America, under New World Order attack. And I do have solidarity with the Russians at that level, because they're being attacked by the same pack of wolves that already pulled us down and is eating our guts right now. And they're trying to pull Russia down right now. They had Russia down for 70-plus years, absolutely murdering those people by the tens of millions. And now they want to do that here. You absolutely better believe I'm on fire to not see Russia overrun by the New World Order and destroyed. Russia's trying to rebuild itself economically, as Ron Paul said at the end of his article. He says, instead, international markets rallied on news that the sanctions would be thus far minimal. They understand that trade and economic engagement are the surest roads to peace and prosperity. Let's hope governments will follow their lead. I want to compete on ideas and products. And if we beat the Russians in competition, great. You want to have competitions and see American companies in America win contracts? That's great. Then Russians will buy our products and vice versa. I don't want to be successful in the old, ancient, barbarian, fraudulent, imperial way of just making people slaves. I want to be successful by true competition and true free will, and that's what I stand for. And that's what will build our civilization and give us a future. We have been overrun by the most dishonorable, anti-liberty, anti-human gangs the world could ever imagine, and we are in deep, deep bondage. I genuinely get mad on air. People ask me all the time, is that an act? And I think it could be an act as far as I let myself get angry, but most of the time there isn't even 1% of acting in what I'm doing. I'm sitting around acting silly. It's me having fun. But I was telling the story about the Dallas cops being ordered to not let us demonstrate peacefully on a sidewalk, and how I blew up at them and got mad at them, and how I probably shouldn't have gotten that mad, but they were robbing us of our birthright, and I started getting mad because it was coming back to me just how pathetic this is. And it's the same thing. We're overrun by the globalists. They're destroying the country. And they're bringing us into something really horrible. It's not like we're being conquered by, you know, the Greeks or something, and we're some, you know, group living in squalor and our life's about to get better 2,500 years ago or whatever. We're being conquered by the eugenicist New World Order, who absolutely plan to kill us. James Bond, do you expect me to talk, Goldfinger? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. There's no quarter, there's no games, there's no... And that's what's so frustrating about all this, is that I really know I'm telling the truth. I really know what the stakes are. And it's a Twilight Zone episode. It should be a no-brainer to get out of this, folks. We just have to admit how much trouble we're in. I mean, I read these quotes here where Obama is, you know, saying, okay, pull out of Crimea, or that's it. They're still saying that. That's in The Hill. Obama says Putin at breaking point. Got another one here out of, trying to find it, out of Bloomberg, where he says, all right, I'm giving you another ultimatum. Here it is. Obama says Putin must pull back on Crimea annexation. I mean, it's not happening. Romney calls it the price of failed leadership because he brought up Ukraine, and Obama said that, you know, that wasn't going to be an issue. Well, I mean, they all knew that they were planning back in '97 under Brzezinski to launch an attack to take over most of the country. They predicted the Russians would grab Crimea. That's the default position, to grab something that's already been part of Russia. So again, they did act on Crimea. They grabbed 90+% of the country of Ukraine. And that's Romney and them giving Obama right cover. Remember, Romney helped write Obamacare and got it passed in Massachusetts. The same screw job model. That's why we're in so much trouble. That's why we've got to take over the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And that could happen if people started realizing just how evil these two parties are. People say, well, just create a new party. They've already rigged everything. You want to take these parties over. And believe me, it can be done with our ideas because our ideas are so much more popular than what the globalists are selling and pushing.